Well, before we go, let's get into
Real or hoax? Real or hoax? Y'all ready for this?
We had to wake ourselves back up. Also, we haven't done this segment in a minute. I'm very excited.
No, it's been a while. I don't think we've done one this season yet. So this is currently happening right now. And a new piece of the puzzle was announced earlier this week on Monday the 19th. It would have been included in our weird report, but we had to record that super early this month. And this is a case I've wanted to touch on the pod anyway. So what better time than now? Also,
Excited.
The Weird Report, for anyone who doesn't know, is a Patreon exclusive episode that we release on the last day of the month that covers all the strange news stories, true crime updates, and horror entertainment announcements every single month. And you can listen to that on our Patreon at www.patreon.com/keepitweirdpodcast. Okay. So, what do you know about the alien mummies in Mexico?
Zero.
Okay.
Tell me everything.
Last year, a press conference was held for Congress in Mexico about 3 1700-ish year old mummies that were supposedly extraterrestrial. I'm sure you've seen them if you don't remember.
I was like, I'm sure that I have. Honestly, TikTok is my source of news, but they give me a lot of these things.
2 of them look like cake. They look like 2 little cakes. They're very small.
Uh-huh. This is sounding familiar.
And it looks like you could just slice into them and they would just be cake, but they're supposedly corpses. And then there's one that's much larger but still quite small. It's a creature that is about 4 feet tall. He's kind of like in fetal position, holding his knees to its body. There's no ears, no eyes, or no ears, no nose, and 3 very long fingers and toes on its hands and feet.
I don't like the 3, but
neither does Joe. Joe had that 3-handed alien thing. Anyways.
I know, I don't like
it. The mummies were presented by Jaime Maussan, a Mexican journalist and ufologist who claimed that these mummified corpses were found in a mine in Cusco, Peru, suspiciously close to the Nazca lines, which we literally just talked about on Witchy Wednesday. We've talked about them on the show before.
Witchy Wednesday.
They've actually been sometimes referred to as the Nazca aliens as well. So,
well, this makes sense.
He claimed at this press conference that the National Autonomous University of Mexico came to the conclusion, after rigorous testing, that these corpses were not a part of our terrestrial evolution and that almost a third of their DNA is of unknown origin.
Spooky-ooky.
Now, this was met with a lot of criticism immediately because Maussan is pretty well known as a fraudster.
Oh, well.
In 2015, he revealed a mummified body of an alien child that ended up just being the mummified body of a regular human child. Well. Not great, but also, like, who hasn't made that mistake?
Haven't we all been there?
Haven't we all? At one time or another.
Yeah, regular mistake.
Mistaken a human mummy for an alien mummy. And then
Sure.
In 2017, he revealed a mummified alien that ended up being a doll covered in paper mache. And now,
Yep.
in 2023, he's got 3 new corpses that are supposedly aliens. But I do think fraudster is maybe a little harsh because I truly think he believes that that people are bringing him these specimens and they're real.
Right.
But don't announce this shit to the entire world when you don't.
That's what I'm saying. Because we've talked about the paper mache monkey dolls that have been found, and it's just why are you telling everybody about it?
Learn your lesson.
Let's go. Yeah.
Fool me once. I thought maybe he had learned his lesson because this time these corpses had been, according to him, thoroughly tested by a university. But one of the physics researchers at that university came forward to say they never endorsed those findings, and that actually they only performed the carbon dating testing, nothing else, and they didn't even come to a concrete conclusion aside from the sample that they were given was over 1,000 years old. So no. But then months later, Jaime came back before Congress and brought with him the testimonies of several doctors who said that these corpses were in fact the bodies of previously deceased biological organisms, but they couldn't certify whether or not they were extraterrestrial, but they were actual mummified corpses. Okay. And in fact, we now have x-rays of the mummies, and we are able to determine that it's not a doll, it's not plaster, it is a corpse, and if it is a hoax, it's possibly one of the best hoaxes we've ever seen.
Like, how would you pull this off? Like, how?
Well, because there's no...
How are you making the skeleton?
There's no evidence of glues, adhesives, or stitching that suggests that these mummies are pieces of other animals and people stitched together to create them.
Put together, yeah.
There doesn't seem to be plaster on any part of them. Now, that doesn't mean that they aren't just mummified human remains. They could just be some guys. But
oh, Steve.
It could just be Steve. But they would definitely have to be a Steve that has some sort of deformity. But again, not out of the realm of possibility.
That is unique. Yeah.
Totally could happen. One of the interesting aspects that you can see in the x-rays of these mummies is what looks to be an implant in the chest cavity. They look to have something in their chest cavity. Well, Monday they released some of their findings on these implants. They are metal, and they are claiming that one of the compounds found, the most interesting compound they found in the testing of the metal, was something called osmium.
Osmium.
According to them, osmium is a super rare metal. It's not easy to find. It's extremely expensive and toxic to humans. So I was like, I'm fact-checking every one of those.
Of course.
As for how rare osmium is, you would have to mine over 400,000 pounds of rock to get 1 gram of osmium.
Okay.
It is about 1,500 times rarer than gold.
It's a little rare.
It's pretty rare.
So it's like,
it's pretty rare.
Unique, having its moment. Okay.
Also, don't forget, these things have been carbon dated to be about 1,000 years old. We did not discover osmium until 1803.
Oh, damn. Okay. Oh my God.
And these things are dated to be like 300 to 400 AD. So rare?
Yeah.
Yes. Very rare. So then I was like, is it expensive? I assume so if it's so rare. And it is. It's about $1,200 a gram. Okay. But the thing is Maussan never said how much osmium they discovered in the mummy. Only that trace amounts have been discovered. And metametals.com claims that osmium is one of the most expensive precious metals in the world, but that's because you have to convert it into crystalline form because of its toxicity. It can cause chemical burns to the eyes, skin, the respiratory tract. Inhalation of osmium could be fatal, and just coming into direct contact with it prior to crystallization could cause irreversible eye damage, blindness, and long-term damage to the liver and kidneys. So toxic and expensive seems correct.
Check. Yep.
So then I was like, damn, what is osmium even used for? Like, do we use it for anything? This seems very difficult to find and use.
Like, why do we have this thing? What are people doing?
It's not used for a lot because it is nowhere to be found, but it's been used in alloys to create really hard materials for things. Electrical contacts, plating on satellites, stuff like that. But I also found that it has a super high conductivity. It actually makes a more durable and effective alternative to gold for plating electronics, and that osmium alloys are often found in pacemakers and heart replacement valves.
Oh.
Which was interesting to me because they found this inside the mummy's chests.
Yeah, in the heart area.
So, finding osmium samples in the metal implants is actually pretty interesting because it doesn't seem like a material someone would use in a hoax.
No. And like
and how? It's expensive, it's rare, it's toxic to work with. Like, how would you get it in there?
Again, like, best hoax ever and done by a billionaire. So
before we write the mummies off completely, it does seem like there's something very strange about them.
There is. It needs more investigating. Like, it is not, it's not, everything you just said shows that, like, we can't write it off. Like, it is, things have been proven that show this would either have to be the most elaborate, expensive hoax of all time, or something is going on.
And if it is a really elaborate, expensive hoax, who is pulling the hoax? And for why? Who's doing
this and why? Yeah, like, what's your goal? What's your purpose? But I think something is here.
As of today, several scientists, not just ufologists, have studied samples and found them anomalous and worthy of scientific scrutiny. So far, the samples and the mummies have been studied by over 50 experts, including surgeons, radiologists, bone specialists, biologists, biophysicists, molecular geneticists, biochemists, anthropologists, astrophysicists, spectrometrists, metallurgic engineers, chemical engineers, and even forensic anthropologists, who all pretty much agree these should be studied and taken more seriously.
Don't sweep them aside. Keep taking a look. I love when the scientists are like, hey, let's get weird.
Yeah, well, because a lot of super professional organizations won't touch it because they're like, it's obviously fake. Right. But there's a bunch of like smaller, but still experts in their field saying, hey, hello, hi, we should actually look at these and figure out what they are. Yes. And if they're fake. And if they are, how the fuck did someone do this? Like, it's crazy.
How did somebody pull this off? So, like, either way, we should be looking into it.
We should look at it. I'm going to provide several links in the description of this video. One of those links is a list of the scientists who have studied them, what aspect they studied, and what their findings were. So, real or hoax, as usual, our answer is, I don't know. Could be either one.
Could go either way, and you should weigh in and also do your own research and let us know.
You should test the biological material of these mummies. What are you doing with your time?
Put on your gloves.
Put on your gloves.
Like,
strap on your goggles.
Like, get out there.
What are you doing? Hello.